and ESEA.
That is right. The Intel Extreme Masters is headed to Sydney, where it will certainly be warmer than it was in Katowice. Of course, that being said, it was kind of the winter months, right? So what to expect? I know I was so cold at some point by washing my hands so much, my hands started to crack. I'm not really used to that. It's not really my style, boys.
Wouldn't it technically be winter season in Sydney as well? In May?
I don't know. We'd have to ask Chad, but I know things are backwards there no matter what.
Everything's upside down.
Yeah, so I mean, the temperatures must be also upside down.
There we go.
I think.
So
almost is what could be a lopsided affair here between Ghost and OpTic. That is our next matchup of the night. We're going to be going into two maps. Of course, both teams having situations of their own. Where would you like to start, Halvor?
I mean, I think we could just outline how things look for them. As you said, pretty different stories going into this, what kind of, I guess, realistic goals they have for the season as well. OpTic looking to get a playoff spot so they can compete in the World Finals. Ghost on their end, fighting for their lives, pretty much to stay in Pro League up to this point. That said, we did see a much better display from Ghost. A highlight of the season, I guess, yesterday when they got a 2-0 versus Splice. As for OpTic, it's been a bit up and down as we've gone along. We've seen them get crushed by Cloud9. We've seen them crush Cloud9. We've seen them crush Rogue, and we've seen them get crushed by Rogue. So it's a bit all over the place for them right now, and that kind of is reflected in the standings as well. As you can see, they're sitting 4-2 right now. So not optimal start for them, obviously, but it's still early days in the season. We have to consider the fact that this roster was pretty much just kind of packed together right in front of the season start. So, yeah.
Well, we can talk a little bit about that lineup, and I believe it could take a little bit of clarity in terms of who is over there on the OpTic side of things now. In case you're just joining us, in case you're just tuning into the Pro League for the first time, let's go ahead and run this OpTic lineup for you ladies and gentlemen at home. Config, Shazam, Gage, Stanislaw, and K&B. Cajun B, I'd say Cajun.
Cajun B.
Cajun B. I don't know. There's something about the J's in this part of the world that really just kind of throw me off from time to time. You know what I'm saying, Pim?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, man. You're hanging out with way too many Swedes, I think.
Probably. This is always cooking with Jordan. Yeah, or going for a yog. That's some of my personal favorites.
Yumping with Yoy. That's
a
classic.
With Yoy. Right, and to train. That is where our first matchup puts us. Of course, we will be, I guess, taking a look at that, but also Gade. Let's talk about this dude's impact, because he's coming here and he's seemingly putting a lot of firepower downrange.
It was a guy who a lot of guys, including myself, had doubts towards in terms of, is he ready for this level? All we saw of Gade before coming to OpTic was basically him playing for North Academy, this academy team in Denmark, where they're trying to foster talent and do well with that. Mertz is another horrible mention for that one, or honorable, sorry, mention for
another horrible mention.
Honorable mention from that lineup. Yeah. He's doing pretty well in North nowadays. Secured a spot on the main team, and so is Gade. He's the second product of that academy team going into OpTic, and a lot of guys had doubts towards him. I think everyone can agree and testify to the fact that what we've seen thus far from Gade has been absolutely stellar. No one had any expectations to him, and he has arguably been the best player thus far if you look towards the games they played and the way he has played as well within his role in the team. So it's very interesting to see how much talent that this guy actually has and how far he can drive this. It may be a honeymoon period, it may be a good start for him, but if he can keep up this level, then I'm pretty sure that we're not going to talk about Cajun being the second star and Cajun, reviving his career. It's going to be all about Gade and Config, coming to NA and killing this league, basically.
And a breath of fresh air there for Config, coming from North, now having sort of a reset. I believe that's a period that all players go through when they go to change teams. It's one of those, it's kind of like, hey, let's just reboot the whole system here.
The fun thing about that is Config didn't need a reset in the sense that he was not in a period where he didn't play well in North. It was basically just like the North lineup not winning as much as they wanted to, and all of a sudden they got rid of Config, who arguably was their best player and also most consistent player in terms of putting up the big numbers and the big matches. So it's not like Config had a bad period individual-wise. He was just not fitting in the team anymore, which is why he had to go to OpTic. So it's not like the case where Cajun, for example, had a very rough period in North, and he was probably one of the reasons why North didn't win anything. And now he has that like reset where he can go back into his own role, being the star rifler and maybe reviving his career. So it's two different aspects to that, and that's what makes this team so much fun. We can like stand here and talk about it for ages now, including Stanislaw and Shazam as well, two personalities from NA as well. There's a lot of like potential classes and potential history you can talk about, and it's just a big mesh of players, but they're all good, and that's why they're a good Counter-Strike team.
And the cool part is, should they get all of that under control, this lineup has potential to be pretty lethal. But then again, that is over half the battle, is getting all of those under one tent or one roof and making it happen. One oof, whichever way you put it, right? Ghost Gaming, though, has had their share of oofs in the past. Let's talk about Ghost Gaming, guys.
I mean, yeah, it's been a pretty big long oof to start things off. But we did see a shining light yesterday going up against Splice. Obviously, that was their 2 first wins of the season. Kind of a reverse of OpTic. Instead of sitting 4-2, they're sitting 2-4. But that was a bit of a glimmer of hope there. We did get to see that Wardell, when he goes big, he can more or less win a game on his own, at least put them onto the right track. Also saw the 2 best performances out of Stanley that we've seen all season as well. So things are looking up in that sense, but it will live and die by Wardell. He is by far the best player on that side. He's a player, even for the personal things he's had going on, or the conflicts he's had with some roster changes and roster moves in the past, I think he's just too good to be ignored by potentially better teams. So I wouldn't be too surprised if this is the last season we see of Wardell and Ghost.
Really?
Yeah.
Anything you want to share with the class here, Halvor?
Not yet. NDAs and whatnot. No.
Well,
no.
NDAs, NMDs, it's all the same thing to me. Oh, wait. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys, it's seemingly going to be a one-sided battle here. And I don't want to beat the dead horse by saying this. I mean, Ghost had showed a little bit of something last night against Splice. But when we look at these lineups, it's rough for Ghost any way you spin it.
It is, especially because of what you mentioned, right? Like the fact that Gate has been playing out of his mind up to this point, and he was the one kind of uncertain aspect of this team. The other ones are tried and true in that sense. So yeah, and if you line up the lineup of OpTic with the one from Ghost, as you see Stanley, Subroza, Zeb, Wardell, and Sanks. I'm pretty sure Sanks is the coach, and well, I'm pretty sure it's VSA.
It would be a VSA, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, a VSA.
Just recently
he joined yesterday.
Yeah.
He joined yesterday, so that's that is a pretty fresh change. It did, bode well though with them getting 2 wins, and I guess the fact that they're playing Train again like they did yesterday is going to be an added benefit to that as well. So even though it is OpTic's map pick, they will have at least some sort of semblance as to how they want to play out that map. But again, it is a bit of an uphill struggle. But we've seen OpTic being kind of on Train as well. They did play versus Complexity in their debut week of Pro League. That went down to the wire. That was a 16-14 win where they kind of had to scrape out, ZZs and so on to actually make it all the way there. So there is a chance. There's always a chance in online Counter-Strike, but.
Yeah, I mean, ain't that the truth? If you ever heard it, that was definitely it. There's a chance in online Counter-Strike for just about anything to happen across the entire interwebs. Don't go looking for it. Trust me, the netcode will find you. Now, with that being said, let's talk about another player, Subroza. Now, this player had shown a lot of promise, but overall, I don't know. It never really culminated too much, and now we see him on Ghost. What do we know about Subroza?
We don't know too much about him, besides him being a big disappointment, I would say. To be completely honest with you, he joined CLG, and I feel like he did that on the fact that he had some great online games, and people saw potential in him playing in the French-Canadian scene or in the Canadian scene. And I myself had the honor to play against him in Rank S when I was over there. And he seemed to be a pretty good individual. I was expecting this guy to go far within the NA region at least. Could be somewhat of a star player, could be somewhat of impactful player, but what we've seen from him thus far is basically him getting removed from CLG because he never performed, and now going into Ghost, and we haven't seen him play great at all, besides from yesterday where he had one good map on Train, and that's what he has to do again today if they want a chance to even go up against OpTic. But he's, to me, just been a big disappointment, and I say that with maybe a smile on my face because I expected good thing from him, so I can also justify having expectations towards him, whereas some NA players, you don't expect anything from them, so when you get disappointed, you don't really get disappointed because it's just like how it is.
Well, you say that, but my introduction to Subroza was through pretty much Reddit. Like Reddit clips, that's where he kind of made his mark in that sense. And
just say it, Halvor.
I don't have
just say it, Halvor.
It doesn't put your expectations too high, and I was still disappointed by what we've seen from him. It's just been a lackluster fest from start to finish. Never really did anything in CLG. The few moments, the few games I got to see with CLG playing, in some tournaments, I was just outright bad, in all honesty, and it hasn't really changed. I mean, yesterday's match was probably the first really good showing I've seen of Subroza, and that's been over a span of quite a few months. So yeah,
even
not
over
quite
a year
convinced.
at this point.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Another man that I believe smashed his mouse at one point, Mr. Config. Now, we could talk about Config forever. This guy has tons of potential. We could talk about him out of the game, personality-wise. I mean, a lot of people talk to him about, this guy's a villain. He's toxic, this and that. But me personally, keep on keeping on, Config. Let them know how you really feel on the green.
He's a welcome breath of fresh air, I think. I think that, you know, yeah, some people are going to label him as a villain. I think it's great to have characters like that who actually, you know, not necessarily taking themselves too seriously, actually allowing themselves to get some flack from maybe not the most thick-skinned fans of opposing teams, and I think that's perfectly fine. You need that kind of stuff in Counter-Strike. It helps build, you know, some extra tension around games. It helps build a bit of a storyline.
A healthy competitive atmosphere.
Exactly, yeah.
A fresh breath of air to a scene that we can say honestly is pretty boring sometimes. You know, whenever a player loses a game, he says, "GG, well played to the other team. Let's train harder. You know, let's go home and work hard."
We missed our shots.
We missed our shots. Whatever. It's the same thing over and over again. So Config is one of those guys who comes in and, like, he's, as you said, like, he's being honest with himself and being honest with the world and just have a little fun with it, which is kind of nice to see from time to time, because it is boring to read the same tweets over and over again. Not only that, though, what he brings to the server, what he brings to the NA Pro League is immense. He's the biggest signing this season. Let's clear that straight away. He's a top 15 player in the world when he's on form, and he showed that last season in North in pretty much the entire season. So having him in NA, going up against Liquid, going up against Cloud9, SK, and those teams, you know, on a team like OpTic, it's going to be very fun to see later on in the season, as well as in the upcoming events they're hopefully qualifying for. Because Config is one of those players that you're not going to keep him in a cage. He has to go out there and he has to kill, you know, he has to be that villain in that sense. And he has the skill and the potential and the talent to justify doing that. So if this OpTic lineup doesn't work up, he's going to go somewhere else and just kill people. So it's a guy you're going to see all over the scene, no matter what happens.
I think even to touch on that a little bit further, he's a player that will get in your face in the server. Yeah. And that is something that is at times the most showcasing of a true player's talent. And we've seen it. There's a reason he smashed his mouse.
I guess.
Why was that? Do you guys know why he smashed his mouse?
Not sure, actually. I mean, I know a lot of reasons.
He lost, probably.
Well, yeah, that's the main
reason. It was on
usually.
Instagram, right? I have to go.
I remember there was the major qualifier where they messed it up, I think.
Maybe.
It could be.
We would have
well,
to
I
take a
mean,
look.
that was mouse smash-worthy stuff.
Yeah.
In terms of performances. But yeah, no, Config is definitely a fun character to have around. And I guess one of the things you mentioned about the aggression, right, around that, in North, he kind of had the framework set up around him to actually allow for that to happen, even though I think one of his biggest weaknesses as a player is his aggression as well.
Yeah.
As well, it's something that enables him to be as good as he is. The question is whether or not Stanislaw is going to be able to actually set up a similar kind of environment for Config to thrive in. Because if he's not going to do that, then he might end up in a situation where he's still an insanely skilled individual, but he's not going to be able to, you know, convert that into wins.
And this is where, like, you can keep talking and talking about OpTic, because what's going to happen if that's the case? You know, Shazam is on this lineup because he want to be a star MVP player. Stanislaw is on this lineup because he want to make it work. Gate is on his lineup because he just want to go to a good team, you know, show himself. He's doing that fine. Cajun want to revive his career and get back on track, basically. And Config want to be the same player and the world star player he's always been, you know. And there's not space for all these types. So some of these players are going to fail in their goals. All these players' goals cannot align in the same team. So this team is not going to be a team that we'll see together in 6 months with these 5 players. I don't believe that, because some of them are going to fail their ambitions with it. So we're going to see who's the strongest one within the circle of this OpTic lineup and who's going to come out the strongest, you know. And whatever that's going to be good or bad as a team, that's also going to be, you know, showcased in ESL Pro League.
It's kind of a Hunger Games within the game.
Yeah,
you could say so. A team within a game. It's yeah, you get what I'm saying.
It's very complex.
It's a healthy environment as well.
Nah.
You don't think so?
Nah.
To fight for your right to party?
It is, but in a team like OpTic, it's not going to work. There's too many personalities, too many guys who wants the same thing and has like their own goal for head. So it's not
team oriented in that sense.
Well, team oriented. Only time will tell, because that is exactly what it takes to win this game. Now, guys, I need to ask you real quick predictions. 3, 2, 1. Who do you got in this one on train?
OpTic.
Yeah, OpTic, even though we kind of spelled their demise in that sense. But yeah, OpTic.
Doomed, but not doomed at the same time by the analytical crew. There to my left and here to my right are the lovely gentlemen, and Jason and Harold. Boys, welcome back. Harold, you were telling us earlier about how you got a pet rabbit at home. And I don't know, it was just a weird thing to spark a conversation with. I was like, okay, man, that's cool, but talk to us a little bit about that.
You know, he loves a good carrot, and that's where I.
So do you.
Yeah, I do love a good carrot. Pimp loves to point this out. There ain't nothing wrong with eating a carrot every now and again, Pimp. Maybe you could read a book and learn that.
I mean, if you look like a bunny, then you should probably avoid carrots.
Right, time to go, bye.
Yeah, that's about the buzzer, isn't it?
All this talk of carrots, there's nothing but beef on the desk. There you go.
Just
I'm trying my hardest.
OpTic Gaming versus Ghost Gaming. On train, about to go live. saw the, I don't know, the first 2 wins for Ghost that we saw yesterday versus Splice. Either way, they went 2-0 against Splice. This is going to be a different beast. This is going to be much more skilled opposition. But look at this, a little trick thrown in there from Ghost. 3 players outside lined up against the wall. That's a great angle. Very tough shot to hit. Narrow, and Shazam can't handle the push through as well. Good trades, 2 kills for Subrosa. The rest of OpTic yet to get involved. Gade and Stanislaw waiting in T mid, and it's going to be Cajun, excuse me, pushing up towards Ivy's, made his presence known, now going to fall away. There's the battle, there's the long-range shot. Ghost starting off very well. And it's Cajun in a 1 versus 4. I have to say, one thing that I very much like about this Ghost team is that player right there, Visa, who just went down, coming from the Rise Nation lineup that was doing so good in the lower divisions in MDL and Premier, and they failed to qualify and kind of broke up after that, and a lot of players went their different ways. But it is good to see players who obviously have some potential move on to teams into the Pro League, so fair play to him. Nice pistol round, though, and we're going to have to see more of those rounds from Ghost Gaming, the ones where you're not always going to win straight up by skill, but you do something clever, you do something tricky, and are able to get an advantage in that way.
Yeah, still, it's a good start for Ghost. They've shown they're more than willing to play this map. They are big fans of it. I think every single time we've seen them play, at least one of the 2 maps has been Train. So they've become very accustomed to both winning and losing on this map. I think their first win we saw them having it was just yesterday. Of course, that was versus Splice, so now OpTic are going to be a bit of a tougher challenge. Seb's going to go undetected here, and with that, he will be able to deny the bomb plant and actually mop up 3, maybe a 4th. Yes, he will. So good stuff there versus the echoing opponents of OpTic. He mops those up, and now, interestingly enough, we do have 2 players in OpTic who could look to invest something here.
I will say, I'm interested to see how this OpTic team kind of develops, because they obviously have a large amount of skill, but I've seen it so many times as kind of like the longest standing caster commentator from the NA region, who's primarily done this region in the past. Every time we've had the imports from Europe, they all seem to have like a case for that like first month or so of thinking that they're just going to be able to overwhelm North American players just by individual skill, that they're just so much better that they can get away with a lot of things, and that's not necessarily true. And I'm wondering if some of the struggles we've seen out of OpTic, surprisingly, they have a good record. But sometimes some of the matches look a bit iffy. I'm wondering if it falls towards that, or maybe it is just time with this roster to develop. We'll have to see. Some damage being done here. 2 kills for OpTic, and actually Subrosa is pretty low as well, but that's the bomb dropped, and Stanislaw's flank is now given up. He had no opportunity to really get into the action. Going to rotate back towards that lower ramp and fall back up towards the ladder, where Subrosa is waiting at the bottom. He's low health, so if Stanislaw is aware, he could have dropped down and taken that fight, perhaps won it. But it will be a 3-0 for Ghost. OpTic's going to have a goodbye going into that 4th. They didn't invest in armor in either of these 2 rounds, so should have plenty of money for whatever they could possibly like, whatever their heart desires.
Okay, Stanislaw. He's going to make things that much more expensive. Only 20 seconds left. Really wants to think about dying sometime soon. As hurtful as that is to his feelings, I'm sure. He does now go down. Seb's going to find him, and Ghost, they're going to take a 3-0 lead early on here on the CT side. Plenty of money to rebuy on the players that went down. And OpTic, they've got the AWP early on for Shazam. The double up setup brought out for Ghost. That's going to be Subrosa and Wardell picking those up.
Looking to be fast play. Gade leading the way. Shazam watching for an upper push, as the rest of his team is going to line up smokes and Molotovs for a hit towards the center bomb site. Wardell has rotated back. He was phenomenal yesterday. We'll need another big performance here. Passing a minute and 10 seconds, and flashbang misses its mark. So does Wardell, though. Misses his shot. Misses a follow-up, and Stan and Config both get the opening kill, so that's a little bit too easy when you have a defense in position. There goes one more, and I think now Ghost just says we need to save these AWPs. One on Visa, one on Sub Rosa, and they fall back. Cajun's already on the hunt. He's already back towards the terrorist choke point. But a good round for OpTic, a clean round for OpTic.
Yeah, that's exactly what they need, start to try and pull ahead early on. Now, thankfully, only 2 players surviving for Ghost in the previous round means that OpTic have done significant damage to the economy. It's going to be made that much worse as Shazam does get rid of Visa, leaving now Sabrosa 1v5, desperate to try and stay alive. But KGB is nearby. Able to drop him and keep the AWP up, but Rebuy now not looking too certain. Seb can actually go ahead and drop one. Sabrosa has thrown the AWP over to Wardell. So it looks like we're going to see them try and go for this one. Seb drops one, buys himself an M4, and also throws a UMP the way of Visa, so he is the real MVP in this buy. And OpTic once again going to be sending players over here toward B early on. That's Gade and Config. 2 players with roots in north. Over here towards B.
Seb doing what he can to hold him off, and actually doing a pretty good job, all things considered. Even holds on to the Molotov. Spam coming through, doesn't deal too much damage. Chips a couple players down, so a good start. OpTic still doesn't have control of ladder room, though. They haven't dropped down. Config's going to go scout it out. Stanley and Sabrosa playing right against the wall. Molotov clears. They're going to go in. Pop flash in. Config completely blind. There's Gade. He drops into the next one. And this is great from Sabrosa. Delayed take of ladder room. Tough start for OpTic in this game. And Sabrosa having the angle. I mean, 2 players in ladder room is going to be so difficult to deal with. Surely you lose at least one in the peak, and there's the Molotov. That'll hold them back, but in these 7 seconds, they have to make progress outside. They have to push forward, and they're taking a very long time. Shazam isn't going to peek far enough. He had the angle. Stanislaw Cajun left. Now pushing up to the bomb train, but the flank from Wardell does the trick. Or excuse me, he's far back. Not quite the flank yet, although it is coming in. The bomb's going to try and make it in towards the B. Bomb site Seb is going to be playing on the sidewalk, finds him. OpTic get punished right back. They do have plenty of money. It was a clean win in the 4th round, so still be able to buy, but this is looking sketchy early on.
Yeah, it's been a very good start from Sabrosa and Wardell, and interestingly enough, actually, it's Stanley now to be grabbing this AWP. Takes it over here toward B. Gonna try and go face to face with Gade. They lined up for him there, but he only gets one. Now gonna retreat away. Doesn't want to risk going toe-to-toe with Config. Shazam, the other AWPer for OpTic. And the main AWPer for OpTic down here towards Ivy, posted up to try and dispatch of Visa. Just gonna go ahead and hold the angle. Meanwhile, he does actually win that fight out. Meanwhile, the rest of the team try and secure a path in through Pop Dog, perhaps. 3 players here, and no one down in the angle for Ghost Gaming. Wardell just lying in wait.
Pretty good defense set up for Ghost Gaming as well. Still 2 players inside. Even with that loss outer, they didn't budge. Didn't move a muscle. The AWP is back in connector. Seb inside the bomb site. And OpTic going to fall into this. They can still fake. They have the bomb at top ladder, but it's now committing towards this inner site. Stanley watching above. We saw Wardell miss 2 critical shots at this location in that 4th round. Stanley cannot do the same. He's got to land these, or else his teammate will go down. There's flashbang out. Stanley's going to be blind. Takes this shot. Seb just hiding inside the site. Now peeking out towards upper. Great kill from Config, but Seb's still alive in the site. He can do more, and he does. A double kill before finally being traded off. The bomb being planted. Wardell has the angle, but so does Shazam. It's a standoff here. Feels like Sub Rosa's got to be the next player to make a move. Although look at Cajun. This is a ballsy play. They're not going to be expecting this whatsoever. They haven't cleared it out, and he's ready to pounce. As soon as he realizes what's happening, he's going to start wrapping around the trains, but he's in a 1 versus 2. Needs to get this kill. It's an easy one. It's for free, but the bomb's not planted for him. Sub Rosa can just stick this. Cajun has to run. I think he's going to get it. Just at the last second, no. Cajun gets in time. A headshot onto Sub Rosa. And OpTic get away with their second. That's crushing. Surely Ghost Gaming going to buy here, though. Sub Rosa with 5.3, Seb 4.8. Yeah, they're going to go into it. Going to fight right back. A couple players actually, no, excuse me. They just buy the AWP and the M4 on Seb. Okay, now we're getting some buys trickle in right at the last second. So questioning whether they wanted to commit to it, which could have allowed OpTic to get a favorable angle early on in the round.
Yeah, I don't have all that much to work with still, though. Very limited in the utility. Stanley's going to try his hand at aggression, but the Shadow could give this up. Doesn't check the close angle. Cajun B's there. And this push gets dismantled piece by piece. Sub Rosa going to fall to the Mac 10 on config at range, leaving only Seb 1v5. And while it was heroics from him in the previous round that kept the dream alive for Ghost Gaming before they lost that out, yeah, most likely isn't going to fare well here in the 1v5 retake, so it does look to try and save.
Gonna try to save. Gade's watching for it. Now spots out his position, and you can see all the terrorist dots starting to home in on his position. Spam coming through as well, gonna force him back, and it's gonna be Stanislav who's coming in up the ramp. You also have Cajun B waiting. Nice little jump there, and I think he's just barely gonna get out of sight of Stanislav, wrapping around, and he's fooled him, so he's found a pathway out of this. Very nice from Seb, and he might even be rewarded with a kill or two at the end. There's one. And Cajun cleans him out. So yeah, started rough in the first 4 or 5 rounds for OpTic, but it seems like they've taken control now, and it should be smoother sailing.
Yeah, double opposite up, bought out for OpTic. Cajun B and Shazam, both of them. Cajun B, of course, a commendable AWPer who used to pick that up at least a bit back in the day, along with the main AWPer of the team now, Shazam. So that's going to be very threatening to Ghost. They've only got USPs in this round, so not expecting too much. But weirdly enough, we've kind of seen a bit of a trend where on these USP rounds, they always do a little bit more damage than I think either of us are anticipating. And this time they're all over here towards Ivy. Only thing is, all it takes is Gade to peek into that B bomb, so I discovered that it is indeed clear for that bomb to rotate round.
No shot from Cajun, but they're going to bum rush him. They're going to get that AWP, although maybe not. Stanislav watching for the follow-up. Eventually traded away. 2-on-3 scenario, and actually the bomb is far away from his sight. Shazam's going to go down. All of a sudden, this is doable. Wardell's put them in a position to recover nicely. It's an angle that can be pre-fired, and this one's going to be tough. Great flick. Oh, it's a leg shot. That's unfortunate. Wardell gets cheated just a little bit. 20 seconds left, though. The timer, the clock, is in Sub's favor. Just low HP. Needs to find a kill here. Config up on top. There goes Gade, and now it's just a one-on-one. Low HP versus low HP, and Config's going to lose it. Great positioning from Seb as he backs away. And with all USPs, Ghost Gaming snatch around out of the clutches of OpTic.
And I mean, I almost got some premonition there, Jason. I mean, it's always the way. It seems like, people say that the CZ's overpowered. Well, it seems like, it has the real issue with the USP as well. Because in so many, I mean, that part there is a joke. That's not my genuine opinion. But yeah, I have to get that out there. Every time we see these USPs brought up, there seems to just be some weird, cruel twist of fate that always sees the team do quite well. I wasn't expecting a round win, though. That was commendable efforts from Wardell and Seb at the end to do all that damage. And now, tactical timeout for Ghost Gaming. That's an interesting one to call in, considering they just won the previous round on the back of a complete eco.
Well, they still have to invest the majority of their money, right? It's only Seb who is able to bring the op into the action, and that's going to be passed over to Wardell. So only one player is going to be able to have money in the bank left after this purchase. And obviously, you know, pretty much a reset rounder. It looks like 2 players have decent money. Just want to make sure that they can continue to build on this, because if they can win this round and continue with some success, they can still have a very good first half. OpTic hasn't really been blowing us away, obviously. There goes Config, trying to do it all by himself, a superhero play. Stanley's going to continue pushing up. UK's finest gets dropped by the Deeg from Shazam. So, Subrosa in ladder room. Looks like Wardell with that op is going to be at the bomb train right towards the entrance to connector, so he can rotate either way. Cajun has the only rifle, though. The other one is left out in the train yard on Config's body. All of OpTic pretty much centralized here. They don't have any map control, just looking for pushes, guarding their flanks, seeing if Ghost is going to get impatient. It's not happening, so now they've got to start pushing forward. 50 seconds remaining. They got to do something. All their utility being used. Cajun's going to come up late with the AK. One salvaged as well from the Gade, who gets a kill, but there's Subrosa pouncing. It is returned. Wardell in the bomb train. Gets the bomb carrier. One more on blue. Seb not into the action, stuck behind a smoke. The flick over doesn't work. Wardell fighting for his life inside the bomb site. Seb still not coming to his assistance, just now wrapping around the bomb train, but Shazam has the angle, but he misses the shots. That's huge. That's a great kill from Wardell, and that puts Ghost in the advantage, and the angle held, even though half blind. Wardell hits Cajun. 8 HP left on him, a triple kill, and Ghost have secured a consecutive round and forces OpTic back into a save.
Yeah, this is pretty unreal right now. When you think about the fact that Ghost, now up until yesterday, I don't think we'd actually seen them even get into double digits in any of the games they played, and they hadn't necessarily played up against, you know, some of the stiffest competition. I would say OpTic were one of the teams we were really looking at to do quite well. But potential here for them to get onto a 7th. A good shot at it. It's going to be aggression out towards A. And Wardell once again, he just keeps locking it down. 3 kills, 4, and he's going to go for the ace. Will be denied it, but it is still a spectacle nonetheless. I mean, ecoing players out in the open, it is like shooting fish in a barrel for Wardell.
Yeah, this is so nice. And it's unfortunate for him because he had another good clip just very similar to this on Overpass a few days back. I believe it was Wardell, except it was another Glock round, it was another eco round, so it kind of gets people kind of discounted, but obviously showing off some accuracy, showing off some poise, and really wanting that ace right at the end. Ooh, spam coming through, Config down to 82. This time Wardell can be impactful just with his presence, just with the information he can pass along. Subrosa forced into the open, forced back behind his smoke, but he wants to stick in front of it. Bad decision. Stanislaw making his way. He's not slowing down whatsoever, and he gets a second. Shazam gets it with his help, and Seb's still alive, although good flick over from Cajun. This round is securely in the favor of OpTic. One entry allows them to progress onto the bomb site so quickly, and Wardell wasn't there with the op to slow him down whatsoever. That made things easier. That'll be a 4th. Great round from Stanislaw, the opening kill, and then continuing to push forward with the cover of smokes to clear out the bomb site, create space for his team.
Yeah, it was a nice change of pace from OpTic. Wardell, desperate to hold on to this. No one's going to come hunting for him. So he won't be allowed to hold on to this. With that, I'm curious to see what the situation is in terms of the buy for Ghost. They can go ahead and throw one more out there. Wardell can drop a FAMAS or a UMP over to Seb. But a pause called in. It's technical this time.
Yeah. Server conditions failing, deteriorating, perhaps. Players buying some time to get things straightened out. But yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be a shock for anyone who's like checking HLTV, looking at the scores, and they all of a sudden see Ghost with a lead. It's been a very solid performance out of them. They've dropped a couple rounds that are unfortunate, but overall looked very good and surprising for a team that, as we said, you know, pretty much just getting their first wins of the season very recently. Season with Stanley brought in from the UK. Visa as a new player, fresh out of Rise Nation. This team's starting to come together. Here's some aggression. You love to see this. What's the timing on? Oh, he's going to have such a fast flank. Oh, this is going to be unfortunate. They just dropped down. He's in position to get a great double kill, and he does. That's the bomb. And now he's got to just survive, but he swings out too far. He wanted more. He wanted it so much, but Sub Rosa's still here to recover. UMP being boosted up instead of the AWP, and it's Cajun going to wrap around the bomb train, and that leaves Seb out in the open, but he wins the fight anyways. Cajun not ready for it. Config rotating back towards B, Molotov in towards Connector. Seb should be able to call this one back, but with 1 HP, he can't get anywhere near the fire. Sub-Rose is on a big flank, and Wardell hasn't reacted. Config, though, making a play.
Yeah, but Wardell somehow has the read on this. He's locking it down. Waiting to see if Config heads in towards the CT spawn, which he will. He starts to creep forward. Timing's going to be everything here. A missed shot from Wardell. And now Config in with a real shot. Seb's on 1 HP. Holding down Connector, and somehow he's won that out. Somehow he finds Config on 1 HP. He locks in an 8th round for Ghost Gaming. And that's the economy in a very bad place now for OpTic. A chance for Ghost Gaming to try and find the 9th.
It's in a very weird place, is how I would have described it, because they have 3 players you can buy, and indeed you do see them pick up the AK-47. So wanting to build upon this 4 rounds they have, wanting more in this half, they're going to fight for it. This would be great. Ghost wins this, and they're looking at least 10 rounds in the half, which would be phenomenal. Not what we'd expect coming into it. A lot of aggression towards these box halls. Seb held off by the smoke at the moment. Ladder room control is there for Wardell. Destroyed by the Molotov and just going to get out. Just calls a cancellation. New position to be gathered. Not a lot of nades left for OpTic. Only 2 smokes, 4 flashbangs. They've got to be efficient.
Yeah, some of the fabled Danish efficiency as they go ahead and throw those in. Stands able to open up. Sabrosa instantly there to trade. There's only 50 seconds left. Utility starting to run dry, and Seb now comes swinging out, but he only gets 1. Config keeps Ghost modest. There is still Visa and Stanley here, and they don't know Stanley's position. He does take the first, but it comes down to a 1-on-1. Ammo runs dry for Shazam. And that allows Visa to pick that one up. No problem. 9-4, and now the money is reset for OpTic. They're going to be feeling very glum about this one as Ghost Gaming poised to pick up a 10th round. They're going to go for the force regardless.
Yeah, that's snapbot by Stanislaw. Just instantly picks up the Tech 9. Rarely seen these days. But a sighting here and there isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, I think it's always Stan that we kind of bring up for still using it. I think he's one of the only ones that we've seen thus far actually break this out. And we always hope that we see some heroics made with the Tech 9. Maybe this is the game in which that happens.
I think we've seen enough heroics from Tech 9s over the past couple of years to last us a lifetime, perhaps. I just want to see the R8. I want to watch the world burn. Inner execute going to come in. All 5 players here for OpTic. Smokes and Molotovs out behind the train. Stanley can't find a comfortable position. They still haven't committed just yet, waiting for the counter utility, and they're going to rethrow, but the Molotov gets refreshed at the lower ramp. Stanley needs to control the spray, and he does for the first kill. They still haven't come down lower, and Wardell is here. Now, they've bought so much time with the Molotovs, and it's a slaughter. It's only Shazam left, and he's only got a scout, and he's dead. 10th round for Ghost. OpTic scratching their heads now. Another very similar buy going to be coming out.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty unreal. The only team, you know, aside from yesterday where we saw Ghost Gaming actually pick up wins versus Splice, the first team they were able to even enter double digits versus was Rogue. And, you know, I would make the argument that, which, you know, they still lost in the end. Always there's still time for them to not win this one out. But I would argue OpTic were a team that we had placed above Rogue initially just looking at this roster. But Ghost have certainly made some improvements, and OpTic have made their fair share of mistakes. It's all culminated into a pretty one-sided scoreline thus far. Sabrosa going to go down to config. Stanley's been key, though, at keeping things even. Wardell going to re-extend the lead back in favor of Ghost. And now, well, Wardell going to go ahead and drop Shazam. He keeps progressing forward. Cajun B now stands in the path of Wardell, who's not done yet. Third frag for the AWPer on Ghost. And in the backline, wreaking havoc like a true poltergeist, it's VSA to finish things off. That will be an 11th round at the end for Ghost Gaming. 11-4 half, and not one that I myself saw coming.
Yeah, this is very surprising, but you gotta love what you're seeing out of Ghost in these past few nights. They're playing very poised, and obviously in this kind of a scenario, they realize, you know, in many ways, on paper at least, outskilled and definitely out-experienced. You have to play a very smart game, and they've done so in some of these clutch situations, some of these late round situations. They seem to have some very smart, very strong role players, and guys like Stanley, I mentioned Visa earlier, and then if you add in like the star power of Wardell with the AWP and the impact that he's been having for this team, all of a sudden you've got the makings of squads who can do things like this. You can throw up 11 rounds onto OpTic Gaming. And perhaps by the end of the season, we won't be too surprised by it if they keep developing in this fashion, but still a good lead. It can all come crumbling down. We've mentioned the T side of train, especially with the inexperienced teams, can look pretty shoddy at times. Certainly looked shoddy for OpTic Gaming there. So hopefully Ghosts have a game plan they can put together. Pissed Around would help alleviate so much pressure if they were able to win that. Just waiting for the players to ready up to go into the second half. But this, as weird as it is to say, it feels like it could be a quick affair.
I am very excited, though. This Ghost Gaming roster definitely have potential. There's no denying it. And, you know, I think we all harped on them quite hard during this first few weeks, just because when you looked at the roster, you know, it was you know, a few key players from a few different rosters that never really found success all kind of culminated into one. There was definitely potential there, and it never really felt like that was fully realized. But now we're seeing a more refined Ghost Gaming, it looks like. I think most happy for Sabrosa starting to find some form. I think he definitely has the potential to be another star player with Wardell in this team.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, he has the skills, right? We saw some of those skills shown in his original stint with CLG before he was removed or he stopped taking part in that roster. Still a young player who kind of, when he left that team, even admitted that he had some of his own developing to do it, and he didn't develop fast enough as a player, took a step down even from the professional scene to the lower divisions. So some time spent there, and he's back, and he's looking as confident as ever, which is very cool to see. And we'll see what OpTic's got in this half. 5 players for Ghost heading towards inner. Stanley going to lead the way. There's going to be 3 players here pretty quick. Stanislaw, connector spotting. And Cajun ready to rotate back very, very fast. He's boosted up at the moment, but here comes the explosion. Stanislaw just needs to have a little bit of impact because Gate is waiting behind the spindles. Smoke's being deployed. Stanislaw over the top of all of them, but he falls. They need to clear this out. They don't. He gives up his position, misses the shots, and there goes Wardell. Headshot from him, and Stanley's up close. Hearing all these footsteps, and when does he pounce? The smoke is going to fade soon. It might not even matter. Wardell getting everything, but Shazam and Config adding 2 in at the end, but it's Seb to close it down. 12-4 Ghost. What a big lead that they've built up for themselves. Wardell is 20-8. Seb is at 19-6.
Yeah, then you kind of look over at OpTic, and someone who we've been giving a lot of praise is Gade, coming from that North Academy roster.
He's having a tough game, isn't he?
Yeah, he's not doing too great. Didn't even realize there, but he's down bottom of the board 2-18. Or possibly 16. 18 seems impossible. But, you know.
You never know.
Quick maths.
Yeah.
Here is
quick reading.
Okay, Gade. No, never mind. That's going to be it. Does manage one, though. That's more than he's been known for here inside of B. Spurs are actually going to go down as well. They're running the risk of having this become very tricky for them. Now, Stan has been tagged down low, but Shazam's in with a second. The scout starts to roar to life. And it's already tasted some flesh and blood. Now it wants that much more. Config lands some chip damage. Shazam is finally going to falter. Stan is lost in the smoke, and he really has to try and find himself as Config now wraps over. Going to go ahead and drop Wardell. But he's got no idea where Stanley is, and at this point, he will have to relinquish this round. Stanley just dodges him. Is Config going to look to try and retreat, but he doesn't even get away with that. As Ghost Gaming locked themselves in a 13th. And now it's kind of awkward for OpTic. You could kind of maybe even understand the temptation to go for a force here.
Yeah, I don't like. This is one of those leads where there's no right or wrong answer, isn't it? Can't fault them either way that they decide to go. So they are going to save. Chance for Ghost to get up towards 14, which would be incredible. They have the weapons to do it, and again, it's just going to be another rush, much like last round. They want to get out with the SMGs into the open space. No armor on these OpTic players. Molotov's in to the bomb site. One player up top. Shazam and Cajun have done some damage, but it's not enough. Only 2 players go down. Sabrosa and Seb are the fallen Ghost players, but another victory puts them 10 rounds ahead of OpTic. And it must start here. They're not going to have an AWP on Shazam. They're not going to have any kits.
They really can't afford to let that bomb go down in this scenario. And once again, Gade stands alone inside of this B bomb site. He does have Shazam down and connected to help out, but look at Sabrosa, he's looking confident. He's already out past main, and he has got Visa with him. No, he does not, rather. That's the mini-map line to me. Sabrosa's going to go peeking in. He actually spotted Cajun B there. Cajun B just keeps toying with him on the angle. Damage done to Stan. That will be him now looking for a hasty retreat while the rest of the team make their way in through Pop. Now they start to try and find a way into this site. Stan's able to go ahead and double down despite being tagged to 12 HP. He finds 2. But now he stands here alone, and with a man wrapping down towards Old Hell, his time will be cut short. It's Gade boosted up to deny the bomb plant. 2-on-2. And the bomb down in the arms of OpTic.
Still a win in a way, even if they can't close out the round for Ghost, as they've taken 3 players out. Going to force a lot of rebuys. Wardell still alive with the AWP, plenty of range. I mentioned earlier, there's no kits on this OpTic side. They do have a smoke, but it's going to be a 10-second defuse. A lot of opportunities. Wardell's gone up the ladder. He's got to be careful. He's rotating back towards T-mid. Wants to play the old bait and switch with Sabrosa. If they find the kill on Sabrosa, they won't expect Wardell to be coming from the same position. Out in the open, he finds one, and that should seal the round. Shazam chasing it down, but Wardell gets there just in time. A brilliant game being put together for Ghost, and this is a massive upset.
Yeah, this is someone that I don't think many people have seen coming. You know, you kind of look at this OpTic roster, you look at the people on it. You know, you have Config, who is, you know, kind of one of the biggest Danish stars, and Gade as well, the kind of up-and-comer, along with Cajun B. You know, also with such a big pedigree behind them. You really weren't expecting this, but here's Sabrosa opening up once again. Shazam, of course, was kind of one of the star players on that Misfits roster. Now he's been able to deal with Sabrosa at least, but the B bomb site's been left open, so bomb plant will come through. It's a 4-on-4, and this star-studded OpTic lineup now have to try and retake this site from Ghost if they want to stay in this map.
It's all about this flank from Config. Visa watching it, but it's all down to timing. Which way is he looking? There's the headshot from the scout. Config spotted him out earlier, takes his time to line up the shot. There is still Wardell to watch and deal with the flank. He goes down, and then Stanley pushed up. All of a sudden, OpTic somehow making this work. No kits. Seb can use the bomb as a teammate. Gets another one as well. Scout an AK-47, and Seb just needs to survive, and he does it. The spinning headshot somehow. He's had a phenomenal game, and he continues, and he's got Gate down low. It's all on this, and Seb is going to win it out. It's a phenomenal performance from Ghost, but an even better one for Seb in that round. He had a great game. And a shocking upset, nothing going right for OpTic, and that one is going to leave them feeling a bit embarrassed on the opening map of this 2-map set. Start to finish, it's all Ghost Gaming.
Yeah, I mean, sign me up to the Seb fan club. That was fantastic from him at the end. And now I'm very much looking forward to game number 2. Before we head to that, we're going to go over to a break, and then we'll be back with the analyst desk.